This
Zoning Commission
conference will
meeting.
now be recorded.
Thank you. Let's start out by a roll call.
Chair Aguilar,
Present.
Commissioner Lassard is absent. Commissioner Henderson,
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Holman,
Here.
Commissioner Gilmore.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Meredith. Commissioner Henderson, would you like to swear in anybody in the audience who is going to be speaking and signed in to speak on their behalf? Please stand up. Commissioner Henderson will be swearing you in.
You'll stand, and anyone that's going to speak this evening, you raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under penalty of perjury? Say, I do. Please be seated.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Before you, Commissioners, you have the agenda for today's 23rd. For today's commission meeting, can I get a motion to approve today's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gutierrez and a second from Commissioner Henderson. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. As we're in regards to the minutes for the May 28th, 2024 P&Z meeting, we are going to table motioning the approval of the minutes. We don't have a quorum, correct, Meredith? Okay, so we are going to table that until our next scheduled meeting.
Excuse me, Commissioner, Chair Aguilar, if I may. We'll just table it until item G at the end.
Okay, we'll table that until we get to item G after tonight's meeting. Item G. Okay, sounds good. Okay, moving on to public hearing items. I'd like to introduce case 24-015 F plat.
Excuse me, we need a motion, please.
Sorry?
We need a motion and a
okay.
second, please.
Oh, sorry.
I motion to table approval of the May 28th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes.
Second.
Have a motion from Commissioner Gilmore and a second from Commissioner Gutierrez to table the minutes until action G. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to public hearing items. All right, we're going to introduce case 24-015F plat, a request to revise a final plat to redesign the Oak Subdivision Unit 7 to increase the number of 48 platted lots which were recorded on May 25th, 2022 to 67 lots on 13.67 acres in R1 residential zoning district. Subdivision, the Oak Subdivision Unit 7, Macro Estate Incorporated being the owner. Meredith with the finding of the facts.
Good evening, Chair Aguilar, Commissioners. The intent of the petition, the applicant of zoning case 24-015F plat is requesting approval of a revised final plat to redesign the Oak Subdivision Unit 7 to increase the number of 48 platted lots recorded on May 5th, 2022 to 67 lots. on 13.67 acres in the R1 residential zoning district. The considerations from staff review are as follows. The 13.67 acre property under consideration for a subdivision plat amendment revision is located on the south side of West Country Club Road and east of Nevada Avenue and zoned R1 residential. On the screen is the assessor map as well as the zoning map. Properties on the north side of Country Club Road or outside the city of Roswell's municipal boundary are in the Chavez County ETZ, the extraterritorial zoning district, and are within the Chavez County jurisdiction. The Oaks subdivision's preliminary master plan shows 13 subdivision units, and that is in your packet. City Council approved the final plats for units 1, 2, 7, and 9 in 2022. On March 22nd, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved Case 22-006, the F plat, a request for approval of the Oak Subdivision Unit 7, final plat to create 48 residential lots on 13.61 plus or minus acres on south side of Country Club Road and west of Nevada Avenue. On the screen, you have both the original plat that I was just talking about with the 48 lots filed May 5th, 2022 with the county clerk. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the excerpt from the proposed Unit 7 replat with 67 lots. The 2016 Comprehensive Master Plan Preferred Land Use Scenario map shows the property under consideration is located in a master planned mixed use area south of Country Club Road and east of Sycamore Avenue. Country Club Road is classified as a minor arterial on the 2016 Functional Street Classification Plan. The developer has already installed and paved an eastbound deceleration lane for right turn access from Country Club Road onto Nevada Avenue that provides access to the Oaks subdivision. The developer has also installed and paved an eastbound acceleration lane for traffic turning east onto Country Club Road from Nevada Avenue. The developer has installed curb and gutter and paved a portion of Nevada Avenue to provide access to the Oak Subdivision Unit 1 on the east side of Nevada Avenue and Unit 7 on the west side of Nevada Avenue. This slide is a Google Earth imagery, and it shows in the background the paved Nevada Avenue. It's going this direction. And the Oaks Unit 7 under development is in the background. The star is on the aerial is the Unit 7 area. The revised final plat to create the 67 residential lot subdivision meets the 2016 Comprehensive Master Plan Goal 8.9 Neighborhoods and Housing Goals, Objectives, and Implementation Strategies, and specifically Neighborhoods and Housing Goal 1, promote a variety of housing types, sizes, and price ranges to accommodate housing needs of existing and future residents. The Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation on zoning case 24-015 F plat for the Oaks Unit 7 revised final plat will be forwarded to City Council to render a final decision. And that is scheduled to go before City Council on August 11th. Is it August 8th or 11th? The 8th. August 8th. That's a Thursday. Findings of fact, conclusions of law. 1, a notice of the time and place of the public hearing for this case was published in the Roswell Daily Record at least 15 days prior to the date of this hearing. 2, notifications of the public hearing were mailed via certified mail with return receipt requested to property owners of record as shown by the Chavez County Assessor Map with lots or land within 100 feet of the area under consideration, excluding public rights of way. 3, this agenda, which includes this case, has been posted at City Hall and on the City of Roswell's website for over 72 hours as required by State of New Mexico law for a public hearing. 4, at the time of this writing, the Planning and Zoning Office has received one email concerning the street name Blue Spruce in Exhibit J, and an email requesting the covenants in Exhibit M. The Planning and Zoning Office received a 6-page petition with 84 signatures. 5 of the signatures are duplicated, representing 55 properties in the area, including properties in the ETC and Sorrento subdivision located east of the Oaks, and 4 verbal protests. See petition pages Exhibits K and L. Below is an excerpt from the petition stating the nature of the protest. The petition is to stop the replat of the Oaks subdivision and the approval of any additional units until a comprehensive risk assessment has been completed. This involves identifying potential hazards such as high traffic areas, blind spots, and intersections, and assessing the level of risk associated with each. We are requesting the study be done during the school year to account for the additional traffic due to the 2 private schools on Sycamore. Let's see. Yesterday, the Planning and Zoning Office received a written protest letter with property owner signatures representing 7 properties within the 100-foot notification area and property owner signatures representing 27 properties outside the 100-foot notification area. And that exhibit N1 and N2 are on the dais. You have received those. Some of those signatures are duplicates of the other petition. Five, in order to address the concerns and provide clear information about the nature of the Oaks development, the developer held an Oaks community meeting on July 9th, 2024. 25 members of the public attended the meeting, many of whom had signed the petition. City of Roswell staff did not attend this meeting. Chavez County Public Works Director Alex Palomino attended the meeting to provide information about future West Country Club Road improvements, including information about the recently completed civil engineering plan prepared by Frank X. Spencer and Associates, FXSA, for the City of Roswell. FXSA also prepared a country club road feasibility study for the city of Roswell dated October 31st, 2022. And you can see the cover of the feasibility study on your screen. In this report, I provided a quote. The report encompasses the investigation, analysis, evaluation, and recommendations for the Country Club Road segment proposed for redesign and construction, 2 lanes in each direction, sidewalk, and drainage infrastructure on page 1. To clarify, this report is more comprehensive than a traffic study. On the boards over here, you will see plans, but I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to continue with the findings of fact, conclusions of law. 6, the property under consideration is currently within the jurisdiction of the city of Roswell, New Mexico. And 12, City of Roswell Subdivision Code Article 4, Subdivision Application Procedures and Approval Process, Section 2, Application and Review Procedures regulates final plats. On the screen in front of you is the technical specifications for the Country Club Road design by FXSA on June 2024. And it's a long document. I just provided this excerpt for you so that you know that it exists. This was done for the city engineering. And FXSA has also produced a set of Country Club road improvements plans finalized on June 28th, 2024. So there's a cover sheet and also the sheet from the plan set that shows on the far right side the entrance to Nevada Avenue. There's also boards over here on this side of the room that show information from the plan set. James McCornack with City Engineering is here and can further address the Country Club road improvement plans and future actions that the city will have to take, which includes getting funding. We did have a joint, our office, Community Development Office, we had a joint meeting with the county and city engineering to discuss the Country Club Road Improvement Project and working on joint funding through the county and the city for that. Okay. And that is all I have for this case. I stand for questions. James McCornack is here to answer any questions on the Country Club Road improvements and any engineering questions that you may have. And we also have Eric McMahon here to speak on behalf of the developer.
Thank you, Meredith. I took a lot of breath. I'm going to challenge you to say FXSA 5 times really fast. Any questions of Meredith?
No.
Commissioners?
Yeah, I'm curious on the Country Club Road improvements. I mean, it's a very nice design plan. When are those improvements scheduled to happen?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Holman, The plans are complete. However, at this time, we do not have identified source of funding for construction.
And I noticed also on the plans for the development, we've got Nevada Street that is the only street coming into that development at this time, and it's only completing partially into the development, and everything is entering and exiting through Nevada, and the only outlet is onto Country Club, which is currently just that 2-lane road with no foreseeable improvement in that. I mean, what are your thoughts on the development of Nevada, not just going to the north, but to the south as well?
Yes, sir, that's correct at this time. I believe the master plan includes Nevada further south as well as additional entrances into the subdivision.
Any idea of when that might take place? Because we're only talking about 2 of the sections for the subdivision right now, and it looks like that subdivision extending to the south is pretty extensive. It might be some time before that Nevada would connect through. What's the next street that it connects through to the south there?
I don't recall. I'd have to look at that master plan.
19th Street?
19th.
I believe so.
Yeah, Commissioner Holman, yes, correct. And we are looking at 19th Street and making that through all the way to Sycamore.
And that would be 4-lane as it extends to Sycamore?
Could you repeat that, please?
Would 19th widen in that area to extend to Sycamore? Because it just is a 2-lane right now in that area. As it goes past Montana, I believe it's just 2 lanes, is it not?
I do know, Commissioner, that from a conversation with engineering and Jim Mitchell, that the improvement of 19th Street would be part of the project.
But we're not asking the developer at this time to extend Nevada to the south. We're just showing on that improvement down to where they've got their roundabout, and that's it. Is that what I'm reading? Is that correct?
As far as what would be required for the case under your consideration tonight, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner, I think the developer might have some answers for us in that regard also. Meredith, anything else? Any commissioners, any other questions of staff, comments?
I have a question. Does this subdivision have covenants? Does anyone know?
That's probably a question for
Yes,
Mac.
I believe the covenants were
They're-
included in your
They're in the
packet.
package.
Okay, sorry about that.
Any other comments of staff, engineering? Nope. All right. There are none. We will move on to public comments. And I understand there's plenty of us here today to speak one way or another. I'm sorry, you know what? Yes. I know there are all of us here to speak in one way or another, either for or against this case. I would like to keep you all to keep in mind, if there is a comment that keeps being repeated or a comment that has been said, feel free to come up to the podium and agree and, reinforce that comment. But for the sake of time, for all of staff's, ours, and your own, if there's a comment that's already been repeated, you feel free to come and reinforce it. At this time, is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor of case 24015? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Eric McMahon. I live at 3007 Riverside Drive here in Roswell. I'm in-house counsel for Mac Real Estate, and I'm here to speak today about the application for final plat revision. Just as way of a little background, and Meredith had spoken to some of this prior, but the final plat, the original final plat for the Oaks Subdivision Unit 7 was approved by this commission in March of 2022, then proceeded to be approved by City Council in a unanimous 10-0 vote. That was in April of 2022. Most notably, the revised final plan that is before you today does conform to all the requirements of the R1 residential zoning that's in place in that area right now. And also, as alluded to previously, this revised final plat will meet goals 1 and 8.9 of the 2016 Comprehensive Master Plan. And the reason MAC has been endeavoring to put this application before you today all comes down to attainability. And when we talk about attainability, we're talking about drawing in a larger pool of Roswell citizens who might be extended the opportunity of home ownership. When we talk about how we increase that attainability, the central concept of this final plan, revised final plan, would be in decreasing the lot sizes, still again within the confines of R1 residential zoning. But that decrease in the lot size directly results in a decrease in the home price as well, born through the lot side of that. And currently we're estimating that savings that we can pass on to the homeowners would be in the neighborhood of about $10,000 per lot per this revised final plat in front of you. In addition to that savings that we would be passing on, our future homeowners would also benefit from a reduction in property maintenance costs for their homes, as well as water and other utility bills. As Ms. Hildreth stated before, we did host a community outreach meeting on July 9th, and we did hear many concerns addressed to us that night by concerned local citizens and residents in that neighboring area. Just to recap a few of those concerns and how MAC has been attempting to address those. There was the concern about the Blue Spruce Avenue that runs through Unit 7, perhaps being mistaken for North Spruce Avenue existing already, and that there could be some confusion with mail carriers in that regard. That's certainly a request that MAC has been looking into, and we're trying to kind of gather more information on what process we need to go through to potentially get that changed to something less, possible of being mistaken. We were also expressed concerns regarding trash accumulating on that south side of Country Club Road. Now, it appears that the main concern there dealt more with the lots currently developed and being developed in Unit 1, which is adjacent to Unit 7. Those lots being developed currently, that's another developer. But after this meeting and the concerns we heard expressed about some trash piling up, we did reach out to that builder. They have put in efforts. They have cleaned up that area. I drove by it earlier today, actually. There's some building materials out there, but it looks like most of the trash and debris has been cleaned up in that Unit 1 section. Fencing along the south side of Country Club was another concern that was expressed. We have begun installation of a 6-foot concrete block fence that will go along the entire perimeter of that South Country Club side. The dust control being another issue. And while MAC has been implementing various dust control mitigation techniques, spraying water down, applying tack to the dirt to try and prevent some fugitive runoff dust, we also believe that the installation of that 6-foot fencing will actually curb a good amount of dust that may be blowing off that property. The major concern that has been expressed comes back to the Country Club expansion. MAC has extended that turn lane along Country Club for both acceleration and deceleration into the Oaks subdivision. This is a matter that MAC is very supportive of. Ultimately, we don't have the jurisdiction to ultimately decide that matter, and we understand that there are some funding issues that have been expressed as well. But we continue to look forward to partnering with various municipal authorities to try and further widen out Country Club in accordance with the city's newly commissioned plan set that was described earlier. As both a benefit to the local residents existing there as well as future homeowners within the Oaks. Unfortunately, we did also receive some more troubling commentary at this meeting. We had been told that the modular offsite constructed housing product that we were having produced at the Boatwise factory down at the old Nova Bus plant, that the installation of those units within the Oaks would create effectively a trailer park. I don't know if you can see this rendering we have right here. This is a model, one of the models we're working with believe this one's called the Agave. I think it's clear to see that these do not resemble trailer homes. And to the commissioner's question earlier about covenants, not only are there covenants in place for Unit 7, they actually specifically prohibit trailer homes. The other concern that we found to be a little distressing was a quote that low quality homes bring low quality people. And we do find that offensive in some regard, because when we look at who we're trying to market these houses to, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but we're looking at middle class, we're looking at teachers, civil servants, first responders, nurses, firefighters, law enforcement. We want to be able to provide everyone with the opportunity. You know, if you work hard in this country, we'd like to be able to help you get some home ownership under your belt. Ultimately, as is true with any landowning situation, adjacent landowners do not have the right to dictate what a neighboring developer does with their land, nor would we have the right to dictate what neighboring landowners do with their land. We are trying to implement a respect for diversity in housing through this revision of the final plat by, again, increasing the attainability by decreasing lot sizes. To read the quote specifically from the Comprehensive Master Plan Goal 1, the goal is to promote a variety of housing types, sizes, and price ranges to accommodate housing needs of existing and future residents. And by creating a new housing stock that appeals and is more attainable for more middle-class residents of Roswell, we do believe we're doing exactly that. And again, to recap what I said before, the target demographic we're looking at are what we consider to be the hometown heroes of Roswell, New Mexico. The people who educate our children, the people who protect us and keep us safe. We believe that they have every right to the opportunity to home ownership as well. In conclusion, again, today, the vote before you is to approve the revision to the final plat that was approved by this commission and city council in 2022. Again, to reiterate, this revised plan does meet all requirements of residential R1 zoning. We're not seeking any variances here today. It will comport with that, while also meeting the goals of the comprehensive master plan, and most importantly to MAC, increasing the attainability of these units. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Commission, any questions of Mr. McMahon?
I do. Mr. McMahon, you stated in your entry your residences here in Roswell. Exhibit A of the application for the F-plat lists your address in Albuquerque. Are you a resident of Roswell or Albuquerque?
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I am a resident of Roswell, and I have been off and on since 1992. That's the company address.
Okay. And then I was also curious, understand what you're stating about providing more affordable housing and modular homes to reach a wider group of people. We appreciate that. We do think that there is a housing shortage here in Roswell. I'm wondering what in particular about this number 7 plot is appealing for this type of home as opposed to any of the other 14 areas you have slated for development.
Well, Mr. Commissioner, at this point, I don't know that I could speak to why Unit 7 might be particularly more adept for any others. I think where we're at with this, we have final plats approved for Units 1, 2, 7, and 9, and 7. We've been beginning the infrastructure, and we're getting all the infrastructure prepared there. That unit is the most ripe for development at this time and most readily available to address that housing shortage.
And the size lots on the remaining units, they appear to be relatively small lots, similar to what you're proposing for Unit 7, from what I can see.
Which units are you referring to?
2, 4, 9, 8, 10, 14, 13, 12, 11, they all seem to be relatively small.
On many of those, I would expect there would be an adjustment at some point for the units that we haven't received final plat on, and we're going to have to be here before you guys again at some point, and that will probably be addressed. A
bit of my concern as well, if we're looking at replatting this from 48 units to 67 units. That's a 50% increase in number of units in that one unit of development. And if we're going to be looking at that for future as well, 50% increase on these other units as well, that's a heck of a lot of houses in that one area that only shows 1, 2, 3 streets that connect through.
At this time, sir, I'm not aware of any plans to similar increase density in the remaining units. I think we're just talking about unit 7.
Okay. And again, I appreciate your concern about bringing in more affordable housing. I think that it is needed, but I also feel like it's a little disingenuous to not state the fact that you were increasing from 48 lots to 67 lots. That's a 50% increase in the number of units that you'll be able to sell to the public. So it's not just an altruistic pursuit by MAC to say, well, we're going to bring more affordable housing in here. This is also something that would increase revenue for this development, in my estimation as well. And then we're looking at dumping all of these 67 units plus the unit 1 into Country Club that is not developed yet. So I'm not sure how the considerations that have been made for those deceleration and acceleration lanes, which were planned on a 48 unit development, how that really translates over to a 67 unit development, and the addition of whatever goes in unit 1, all of that dumping onto Nevada and all directly onto the Country Club. And then I have some concern about how that road at Nevada actually empties out. Is it 3 lanes with 1 entry, 2 exits, right and left turn, or is there a straight lane on Nevada as well?
And to address those concerns as best I can in order, sir, I certainly did not mean to imply any kind of disingenuity. This is, something that we do feel it would be good for many people in Roswell. There would be some obviously benefit to the developer as well. As for Nevada Avenue, I'd have to look at the plans to fully answer that question for you.
Okay. James, do we know, is there a straight lane planned on that Nevada exit?
I'd have to look at the plans to confirm that for you, sir.
Okay, well, I have some concern about that. If I believe there's 3 lanes there, and that Nevada Avenue directly across from there is not a city street. That's a county road, and we're directing now a city development area into a county road that we don't maintain, which I think is concerning as well. And along with that, I have some concern about just the price point of the housing that you're planning to put directly across from relatively expensive housing development here in Roswell and long-term residents that are there. And of course, they've had quite a bit of feedback
Yes,
in
sir.
this as well, and we'll hear from them tonight.
Yes, sir. And I do think, on that last note, what we have looked at is that when historically tracking, data across various markets, when a home is next to a home that's sold at a higher price per square foot, regardless of the relative square footages of those 2 houses, the first house is also going to benefit from an increase in property value. We're currently anticipating, based on our appraisal efforts, that the homes we would be placing in Unit 7 would be selling for about $170 to $190 per square foot, which we believe exceeds many of those properties.
Yeah, that's quite high for this market. Would that include your modular homes as well?
Yes.
That seems high. I don't know. I'm not a realtor, but I do track these things pretty well. It seems like a pretty high price point per square footage for our market, but I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the information.
I have a question for you, Mr. McMahon. Compared to unit, is it 1 right next to it?
Yes, sir.
What's the average lot size on unit 1 versus unit 7?
I would have to look at that, sir. Unit 1 has been transferred to another builder, so we don't have control over
Is
that.
anybody here James, do you happen to remember? That was a couple years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd have to look back and see. I don't recall.
I mean,
Thank you.
visually, they seem to be
Yeah.
quite a size difference.
Do you know the length and depth of proposed lot sizes?
I believe, and the actual plans in your packet might have more detailed
They're
information, but
just
I think
super small. I can
super
barely
small.
read it.
I believe the average frontage is about 50 feet, and then the depth, I think the average depth was about 120 feet
120?
for average.
How big are the homes going to be?
Right now, we're looking at models that would be in, I think, about the 1,200 to 1,350 range.
And the same setbacks still apply. We still have 5-foot side yard setback at 20 foot off of the 25 off the alley, 25 off the frontage street, 20 off the alley.
25.
Yeah, 25 off the frontage or a side street, and on a 50-foot frontage, and only 120 depth is what you said? 120?
120, 125.
On average.
It's relatively small footprint for those houses then.
Any other questions of Mr. McMahon?
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in favor, or online or on the telephone, wishing to speak in favor of case 24-015? Anybody on the phone or online? Staff? No? Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anybody in the audience or online wishing to speak in opposition to case 24-015? Please come forward, state your name and address. Somebody's got to have something to say.
Don't rush the podium.
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Eva Tejas. I'm Tejas Real Estate, 35 years in real estate.
Can you pull the microphone down, please?
How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm
Need your
Eva
address.
Tejas,
Can we get your address, please?
1715 North Union, Roswell, New Mexico, 88201. I do have 2 homes right across that subdivision. And they are nice homes. Okay, ready? I'm Eva Tejas. I'm Tejas Real Estate. I've been in real estate for 35 years. Years ago, we heard about this subdivision, that they were going to be high-end homes. Well, 1,200 square feet homes are not high-end homes. Across from Country Club, there are high-end homes. It will bring your value down. No matter what he has stated, it will bring your value down. Appraisers go at the square footage and what the price is selling at. So what he has stated to you is not correct. Secondly, the Oak subdivision will affect all of Chaves County. It will affect Dexter, Hegerman, Lake Arthur, East Grand Plains, everyone. If you approve this development, then I can now build 1,200 square feet in your backyard in your county. And let me tell you, I will activate my license because $280,000 homes for a 1,200 square home is good money. Mortgage monthly payment on a 1,200 square feet home at $280,000 with insurance, mortgage taxes, and mortgage insurance is approximately $2,500. Interest rates, if they do come down, your payment is still going to be $2,300. And why? Because insurance and property taxes are sky high now. Who can afford a $2,300 payment right now, especially when your eggs, your milk, and your bread are $4 each? He talks about police officers and firefighters, nurses coming in to buy into the subdivision. Well, you're gonna have to have over $3, $4, $5,000 in your pocket. Our police officers, they make $30 to $40 an hour. Where's the money for a $280,000 home, 1,200 square feet home? We want to make sure we can afford these homes. What I am afraid of is that they will turn these 1,200 square feet homes into rentals. We do need homes, you were right, but there are an abundance of homes available. If you go to Zillow, if you ask your real estate agent, they will tell you there's homes available.
With all due
But
respect, Ms. Tejas, your time is coming close. I'll give you a few minutes, a minute to wrap it up.
my question is to all of you commissioners, would you buy a 1,200 square feet home and would you have it in your backyard? I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of Ms. Tejas? Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-015? Please state your name and address.
Greg Alpers, 1909 West 27th Street. Also have 4 undeveloped lots in this area that is close to this development. It appears to me that the city is either made up their mind or they're not fully engaged. This was circulated to everybody, county, city, and of course the developer, and the city didn't show. I wonder why. And then over a 6-week period, I've asked for covenants for the Oaks, and I was told that we don't have a signed covenant. And on the 19th of July, after an email to be on record, I received the covenants, but they're not signed. In fact, they're dated October 16th, 23. Does the city really have covenants? I kind of like to know that. The big issue is safety. Country Club is a very narrow street. No shoulders. And your city study was done in the summertime. That has been noted. It needs to be done when kids are coming to Goddard and when the other kids are going to Gateway during school year. You're going to have a major accident at that intersection the way it's laid out now. If you go look at the way they have it laid out now, it is laughable. And it doesn't meet code. I believe city code says streets have to be 60 foot wide. Is that correct? I received the covenants and I looked it up. It says 60 feet. They're 47 feet wide. I have real issues with this. There's no lighting early in the morning and late in the evening. You cannot get on Country Club. You are going to turn Nevada, which was noted as a county street, which is chip and seal. You're going to turn it into a thoroughfare, and that street is going to fall apart quickly. Nevada flooded last week with the rain. I had my neighbors on Nevada have water up in their front yard. There's no plan for drainage. There needs to be, as noted, a street going south to 19th. Entry and exit for that area. You're gonna overwhelm the neighborhood. Military Heights schools are full. Where are you going to put all these kids? They're going to have to be bused. And the city is going to have to answer to angry parents about why their kids are being bused. It's noted in the city plan ordinance that the city, before developing a subdivision, has to meet with the school system to plan. Has that been done? No one answers these questions. Property value is going to go down. Ms. Tejas is absolutely correct. And I am not happy about that. Other ordinances that I noted, 8% of a total area is to be required to be in parks or playgrounds. I don't see any parks or playgrounds out there right now, unless I misunderstood that ordinance. Code requires the school district be notified it wasn't. The streets are narrower than they should be. And the only logical reason to allow the addition of more lots is because the developer underestimated his cost and he wants to be bailed out. The neighborhood, all my friends and neighbors out here should not have to bear that cost. I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Applesh. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-015?
Good evening, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Matthew Rael. I reside at 2001 West Country Club. I do echo a lot of concerns that have already been brought up. Some of the things I've actually directly witnessed is, I'm concerned that really appears that the cart has been put before the horse. There's really no infrastructure. Our safety should be paramount, and it's not. I've witnessed rollovers on Country Club directly right next to my home. I was outside last week doing some yard work, and I witnessed a vehicle almost get T-boned. There was a vehicle on Country Club that passed another vehicle headed east and nearly T-boned a vehicle coming off Nevada. So I'm really concerned for the safety of our citizens. And I do agree with Mr. Alpers. The developer should have prepared for this, and it almost seems like an afterthought. And it's at the expense of us as citizens of the county. And again, I really don't feel like the infrastructure's there. My kids have attended Military Heights, and that school is full. And I agree, parents are going to be pretty upset when their children have to be bused across town. And so what does that do for the emotional well-being of our children, the safety of our children? So I really don't agree with the replat. I think he should have thought about that in the first place. That's my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience or online or on the telephone wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-015? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Mary Alice Lissick. I live at 2508 North Nevada. My questions are ditto for everything that was said, but I have a few more things. The covenants that aren't signed, even if they are signed, who enforces those covenants? I'm not sure who would be responsible for that.
Staff, does anybody have input?
I can speak to that a little bit. The city has nothing to do with the developer's covenants. It's not something we enforce, require. We have nothing to do with it. So that'd be strictly upon the developer to enforce.
Okay. So that's a large concern. Concerned about the size of the streets again, that Greg mentioned, safety vehicles would not be able to pass if there were a lot more cars there with smaller lots, or buses to bus the kids. I don't think there's any room on Country Club for even a bus stop. My neighbor Molly Maloney witnessed the other day the turning lane that you all had put in being used as a passing lane that nearly caused an accident. Very concerned about the drainage. I know Country Club Road has flooding issues, so does North Nevada. What happens if you all cannot get $170 to $190 a square foot? Do you drop the price of those homes? Does that now become low-income housing? I spoke with a person living in the Sorrento area who said that there was supposed to be a second outlet, but it was never built. And she has problems right now coming out of the Sorrento area, getting out onto Union. So the traffic on Union is an issue for some of those residents. How do you enforce or hold a developer accountable for additional outlets if they say, yes, we are going to make these outlets, and then it never comes to pass? How is that enforced? And then I understand that the modular homes are very nice, and they do look very nice. But what size lot are trailer homes put on would be my question. And that's all that I have. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Lissick. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-015?
My name is Jana Powell. I live at 2101 West Country Club Road. I do have a couple of questions on the smaller lots, saving $10,000 per lot, which is great, but not when you're looking at an overall price of $175 to $190 a square foot. I just don't think that's a huge savings to make those homes more obtainable to those people. I did ask the developer at the community meeting, why can't you just leave the lots the same size that is already approved and let the homeowner choose what size home they need to build? And he said it was not financially feasible for them to continue the development at that, as is already plotted. So they need the additional lots to be sold to continue with the project.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience or online or on the telephone wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-015? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion. Now, this will be a motion to recommend to City Council. Commissioners?
Can we open to discussion first?
Definitely.
So I think with the information that we have here with concerned citizens in the area, with the fact that the rest of this development is not assured or planned for how the rest of the arterial streets are going to be finished out, what the feeder streets are going to be, what our connections are. I think this development in its original form was somewhat short-sighted, and to look at this as a 50% increase of houses in that one area all dumping onto Nevada would be really, really negligent of us to consider, and also looking at the reduced lot sizes and home sizes and home prices dumping into that area with the homes that are there has to be a consideration, because we're here to protect the people of this community, not to make sure that a developer can meet their profit margins. I understand that this development went through some serious overturn, and that they probably are in pretty hard financial position, but our concern is not their financial position. Our concern is how this is going to impact the health, safety, and welfare of our community. And I feel like without having the Country Club Road development already done, and without having Nevada coming through to the south, this would be really, really short-sighted of us to consider amending this to a 50% increase in number of lots in this one development site. So that's my take on it.
Thanks for your comments. Commissioners, any other comments?
I disagree. I believe we need more houses. I think that it's not 50%, but
it's too shy of being 50%.
It's too shy. So it's what, 43 and now 67?
Yeah, we were at 48. We're going up to 67. I think that's like 48% increase.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, like 20 extra, 20 something extra houses. I mean, it was already planned for 48. I think that if we can look into street lights and making the turn more safe, I believe that that we do need houses under 200,000. There is a lot of buyers in town that don't qualify for homes over 200,000, and there's a big need for housing.
I agree with that. Do you think that a 1,200 square foot house at $200,000 is a reasonable purchase?
I think maybe if it's 170, yes.
And if we have 48 houses now extended to 67 houses. And let's say we've got families moving into these houses. I think they're looking at two, 3-bedroom units. And we can anticipate a couple of cars per household dumping out onto Nevada, which then dumps into a county road or an undersized arterial road. So if we have, let's see,
It's just
what's
a,
that, 67 houses times 2 cars.
it's a
It's
big unused area.
134 cars just
With-
from that unit, not to mention the unit across from there. which is probably
Commissioners?
another 70 houses.
Commissioners, with all due respect, I also don't want to turn it into a back and forth between us, and that's what our voting is about. What I'd like to do is ask for a motion, one way or another.
I motion to recommend approval
Just read the thing.
of case 24-015F plat to city council.
That's going to be approval to recommend. Okay, and would you like a individual vote? Can I hear a second? I have a motion to approve to recommend case 24-015F plat to city council from Commissioner Gilmore and a second from Commissioner Henderson. Are we going to do a roll call vote? Okay.
Commissioner Holman,
No.
Commissioner Aguilar,
Nope.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
No.
Commissioner Henderson, Commissioner Gilmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson, you originally seconded Alicia's motion
I did second.
to approve?
Let's just second for the motion.
Okay. Okay. So that's a motion of 1, 2, 3. How much are we? 4 to 1. Motion does not pass. Recommendation to city council. Is it still go to city council regardless, correct?
Chair Aguilar, the case goes to city council with your recommendation.
Okay.
It would go to city council either way. All the planning and zoning is doing tonight is recommending approval or denial, but it's going to city council either way.
Okay. All right. That being said, we're moving on. If you're not here for the rest of the meeting, you can stay for the show or you can head on home. We're going to take a 10-minute recess.
Thank
you. Yes.
Thank you, Saul. Very well managed.
It got a little hot here.
I need you to provide your reasoning. That's something that city council,
Is that
they want to know
as
why
a
you made your
group
decision.
or individually?
Just
Because
as a
obviously,
group is fine.
because
Just so you
obviously
guys can provide-
there's somebody for, there's other people against, so you want both sides or?
You're welcome to provide both. I just need something. They want to know how you guys made your decision. What you based it on. So
Do you want us to put that in the minutes here in a minute? Okay, we can do that.
That's something they've been on.
I can do that.
Also why I wanted to have more discussion on it amongst us so that we can
And
get
I
that
wasn't
those
too sure,
out as
and
well.
I respect each one of you guys.
I appreciate your position. I really do. And I appreciate
Same.
I appreciate the lack of housing available.
Yeah.
It's just even if they were looking to develop this type of Built out. Development. We got woefully undersized, and I don't want that happening. Infrastructure needs to happen.
Call our, oh my gosh, what day is today? 23rd, July 23rd, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting back to order. I'd like to, for the record, to show that Commissioner Lassard has now entered the building. Before we continue, I was asked to give motives of our, what's it called, the ruling, voting, or decision? Is that what, do you want individual decisions or?
It can be group reasoning, just need some basis to how you reached your decision for city council, please.
Okay. I think from what I get, it really is just not cohesive to surrounding areas, and it really doesn't describe what future development for that particular area is. And also some of the items that are, as far as traffic's in and out, it's going to be a little bit difficult until it gets done. Anyone else would like to add anything? Commissioners?
Yeah, I just think that the infrastructure is lacking right now. So that expansion of Country Club Road would greatly improve the situation.
10-4. Moving on. All right. I'd like to introduce case 24-011 VAR. It's a variance request for multiple variances to the property developed for commercial use in an R2 residential zoning district at 500 South Delaware, subdivision polyblock 16 lot 1. Meredith.
Chair Aguilar, Commissioners. The applicant for zoning case 24-011 variance is requesting multiple variances to the property at 500 South Delaware Avenue, developed for commercial use in the R2 residential zoning district. The variances requested are the following: commercial development in R2 residential, 2 accessory structures, which are carports without a primary structure on the property, and encroachment into the required 5-foot south side yard setback. The site plan excerpt, from the zoning application is in your packet and on this slide as well. The property under consideration is in the R2 residential zoning district. Zoning ordinance Article 50 Development Standards Section 2 Residential District specifies the following setbacks in the R2 zoning district: 25-foot front yard setback, 20-foot rear yard setback, 5-foot interior side yard setback, and 25-foot street side yard setback. On the site plan that you see on the screen and in your packet, you see that south property line, or the south setback distance from the building to the property line, is less than 5 feet. Number 3, the property under consideration has no primary structure. The property is served by Hendricks Street and Delaware Avenue, both classified as local streets. There is curb along Delaware Avenue. There is no curb along Hendricks Street. In your packet, you have a Google Earth image from 2021 showing an undeveloped lot. The property already has a 6-foot solid fence along the perimeter. The maximum height allowed for a solid fence in the front yard is 4 feet. The aerial Chavez County Assessor's map shows the north fence line may be outside the property line. The fence was constructed without a permit. Property owner installed 2 carports on the property as shown in the staff photo. Carports do not meet the 5-foot interior side yard setback from structures to the south property line. Carports were constructed without building permits. On this slide, you see the assessor's map as well as the zoning map. The findings of fact, conclusions of law are as follows. 1, a notice of the time and place of the public hearing for this case was published in the Roswell Daily Record at least 15 days prior to the date of this hearing. 2, notifications of the public hearing were mailed via certified mail with return receipt requested to property owners of record as shown by the Chavez County Assessor map with lots or land within 100 feet of the area under consideration, excluding public rights-of-way. 3, this agenda, which includes this case, has been posted at City Hall and on City of Roswell's website for over 72 hours as required by State of New Mexico law for a public hearing. 4, as of the time of this writing, the Planning and Zoning Office has received 0 written protests, 0 verbal protests, and 2 inquiries. 5, the property under consideration is currently within the jurisdiction of the City of Roswell, New Mexico. The 2016 Comprehensive Master Plan Preferred Land Use Scenario map indicates the property under consideration is high-density residential and within the infill redevelopment opportunities area. Six, zoning ordinance Article 3:10, Section 10A states the Planning and Zoning Commission may approve a variance to the zoning requirements for a property if the reason for the requested variance is due to the property being of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, or having topographical or other extraordinary conditions which prevent the property owner from being able to comply with the zoning requirements. And if the strict application of this ordinance would result in a peculiar, exceptional, or undue hardship as opposed to a mere inconvenience upon the property owner. A public hearing held by the Planning and Zoning Commission is required per Section 10C. Number 7, Section 10D states, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall decide whether or not to approve a variance request based on all oral and written statements from the applicant, the public, the city staff, and its own members. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall also consider the effect of the proposed variance upon neighborhood traffic, the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall not approve a variance unless it is satisfied that the request will alleviate some unusual hardship, is consistent with the general intent of this ordinance, that it conforms to the Comprehensive Master Plan, City's Land Use Plan, and that it is in the public interest and not solely in the interest of the applicant. Number 8, Section 10E states limitations, amendments, and revisions. The Planning and Zoning Commission may approve, deny, or table a variance request for not more than one regularly scheduled commission meeting or for a period of time specified at the public hearing. The Planning and Zoning Commission may stipulate conditions and restrictions upon the property benefited by the variance as may be necessary to comply with the standards set forth in this ordinance to reduce or minimize the adverse effect the variance may have upon adjacent properties and to ensure consistency with the general intent of this ordinance. I stand for questions, and I don't know if other staff, McGill and James, may have additional information for you. I know that Miguel did go and visit the site.
Thank you, Meredith. Commission, any questions of staff for Meredith?
So it looks like from this Chaves County Assessor's map, it does show maybe one of those carports in place and what looks like quite a few vehicles inside that yard, perhaps?
Yes, sir. From what I could see, there were 2 carports there. The photo that was taken from the assessor's map is a dated photo, so it only shows 1 carport. As far as the vehicles or any other storage inside the property, it's being screened by a solid 6-foot fence.
I have a question. Why are we going to C1? For storage? Or? Hang on.
Commissioner Aguilar, those were only sections within the ordinance. This is not a request to a change of zoning.
Okay. Any other comments, staff? Questions of staff?
Are there any easements?
Was there a hardship identified as a result of the placement of the excessive carports?
First question, Commissioner Gilmore. I am not aware of any easements on that property. And Commissioner Gutierrez, what was your question again?
The question was there a hardship that was determined or submitted by the homeowner as to why he exceeded the limits of the property and the addition of the additional carports?
There was no evidence presented to me. I was told that the applicant was not aware that he needed a permit to do any development on the property. So the development was already done by the time I received the call for the violation.
That's why we're here. You got a call for a violation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff?
To be clear, we're looking at the carports and the fence that was constructed without permit?
That is correct. Those would be the variances requested as well as the use. The property being zoned R2 for residential and being utilized for a commercial use as an extension to the property owner's business.
What is the commercial use? Is there a business here or?
I would have to let the applicant
Okay.
answer more specifically about
Okay.
what he's.
We'll let the applicant. Anything else, Meredith, for us? Oh, sorry.
Do we know how long this structure has been?
Can you please?
Oh, yes. How long has the structures, the carports and the fence been there? Does anybody know that?
I'm not exactly sure how long it's been there. Once I received the call, that's when I started moving forward with the violation process.
Okay.
Thank you.
What the Google aerial image from 2021 shows a blank lot.
Yeah.
So it's not been that long.
Last 3 years. Our applicant would probably have some information for us. Okay. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, staff. Is there anyone in the audience or online wishing to speak in favor of case 24-011? Please come forward. Nobody? There he is. Good evening.
Evening.
State your name and address, please.
Tito Barrios, 206 South Ohio Avenue. Well, I just need to say that, I'm using it just for a storage. It's just that simple.
You don't run a business out of
No.
this location?
No.
No, just storage for
Just
trailers and
storage, yes.
trucks. Okay.
Yeah. And I started building up on about 2 years ago.
that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Any questions of the applicant?
Do you know, is that fence, does it go over your property line or is it within your property line? Because I think the staff has concerns that it's encroached.
Well, I thought that it was right on the property line. According to the fence, the existing fence from the neighbors.
Does staff have any comments on positioning of the fence?
My information is based off what I can see from the assessor's map. It does look like the fence is encroaching into the right of way, but I do see it in line with the neighbor's fence. That does not mean that the fence line is correct. We would need a survey to verify the property lines.
So you do feel like it has encroached the right of way?
I wouldn't feel comfortable answering that because I couldn't say it factually. I can only give my answer based on the evidence there. The assessor's map shows that it is outside the property lines, and that's what I would base my answer on.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant, Commissioner? Thank you.
Oh, one question. Mr. Tenario, were you aware that there are like property corners for your property? Were you aware of that at all?
No.
Okay.
This is one single lot, isn't it?
Was there ever a plat developed on the property itself or surveyed?
No.
You never had a survey on the property?
No.
Any other questions of Mr. Barrios?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience or online wishing to speak in opposition to case 24-011? Please come forward, state your name. Online, anybody in opposition? Nobody? Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners?
I had a question for staff. Would there be a legitimate path forward to requiring that the front fence be removed and replaced at the 4-foot height rather than the 6-foot height to meet that regulation?
You would simply need to submit an application for a fence permit with the site plan, and we could make the fence legal at that point. And one of the conditions would be to lower it to 4 feet and bring it so far back.
That's assuming motion passes, right?
Correct.
Is that something
That'd be part of the motion, probably.
we could put as part of the motion?
Mm-hmm.
Another suggestion would be to make the fence see through like a chain link or a wrought iron, something like that, so it doesn't obstruct the clear sight triangle on the corner, which would also be reviewed by engineering in these circumstances.
All sides need to be clear sight, or only what is the front part of it?
Just
the Delaware address, so the front.
Delaware, the shorter part, the shorter side?
Correct.
The
It
back side's
corners
on the alley.
Delaware and Hendricks, I believe.
Yeah, it was Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
So the fence ordinance requires 4 foot on the front yard. What about the side yard at a quarter? What would there be a step back that they would have to do for that line of sight?
It is so typically the way we measure is, for example, we have a home on the property, so the home meets a setback. The front, or the side fence cannot come past the front wall of the home. That's usually where we measure. That's how we keep the clear sight open. That's how we measure with that. In this instance, with it being R2, we would measure 25 feet back to meet the setback.
So then presumably a 4-foot fence on the front and 25 feet setback at 4 feet fence on the side yard would possibly get us a path forward?
Yes, that would be more in compliant with the code, yes.
Have you already gone over this with the applicant?
I did discuss what some of the options were.
Okay.
As far as the fence, that was the easiest thing to move forward. everything else I explained to the applicant would have to go through a variance process. It was not anything that complied with the code, so it would have to come before you.
Any other comments? Commission, staff?
Go ahead.
Well, it'd be nice to figure out a way to solve the problem, but it's too bad that either through ignorance of the law or just a willingness to plow right ahead, do whatever they choose to do. I would say that I would be willing if staff would identify what's necessary to help bring us in line with the fence, the property line, and then we're having to change the zoning. And none of that to me makes sense, but if there was a way forward to help the applicant, then I would like for us to identify those things that are necessary to kind of put a lipstick on a pig.
Staff have any lipstick?
I can't say I have any of that, sir, no. Discussing this more with our building inspectors, one of the things that came up is that even if we did allow this and the applicant applies for a building permit, we're now asking our building inspector to sign off and approve an inspection that they did not get to verify. And that's where the conflict comes in. So the applicant would actually have to dig up and prove that it meets proper footing, a proper setback, proper placement. If there's a slab there, everything has to be up to code, and that's what we would be asking our building inspectors to sign off and approve. And so we would be basically undoing everything, so our building inspector would feel comfortable enough to sign off on something, because now they can verify. Would the applicant be willing to go through all of that trouble to prove that they've done all of this up to code? And then we also face the detail that there is no primary structure on the lot, which is specific in the residential code, that an accessory structure must serve the primary structure. There is no primary structure. So we're asking for quite a bit here in this instance.
The alternative is that we don't approve the variance and he's ordered to tear down all the structures.
That is correct.
There's an adjoining house there, isn't that right? Isn't there a house to the west?
There's one to the south, but that is not the applicant's property.
They're not.
The applicant.
They're not objecting to this applicant?
I haven't heard anything from them, no.
You know, I wouldn't mind going through the loops to try to solve the problem, but I'd sure want the neighbor who's going to be affected by that fencing and the change in the zoning to be satisfied. In other words, hate to do all this and the neighbor be upset because he's R1 and this is commercial.
So to follow up on that, the next thing we'd be looking at is that if we approve this, we're now setting a precedence. We had an applicant about a block away from this property that also recently inquired about doing something very similar to their property, and they were denied for the same reason. They did not have a primary structure on their lot, and they wanted to use it for private storage. So if we allow this, we set that precedence. Ultimately, it's up to you, but sticking with what's in the code, those are the facts that I present to you. And keeping that in mind, once you make this decision and you allow it, you have now set that precedence for the next to come along and do it again.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks.
I knew you'd like that part.
Go ahead.
So you have gone over with Mr. Barrio, what he needs to do in order to be compliant, that he would have to dig up and show footings and everything, correct?
I got as extensive as I could with him. I only got to meet with him briefly, so I'm hoping
Okay.
I got to express all that, but I did let him know that ultimately, once he applied for this variance, it was not up to me. It was up to you as the
Yeah.
commission. So he needed to present as many pieces of evidence as he could to show what he did, if he had anything to show. And everything here is what I was given.
Okay.
Seems the larger question is the commercial zoning variance in a residential area. And the fact that it wasn't.
It's commercial because of storage, not because.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's not a primary residence
Yeah.
on that property. So
well, the proper inspections too, given that there is a homeowner right next door with, carports and such that haven't been inspected and so on. So I think all the above ground could easily be inspected, but the below ground, your slabs, I'm assuming, I don't know if there are, but it looks like there's concrete slabs there that haven't been inspected. You don't know if there's rebar. You don't know if all of it was done properly. So those are, unless he's got pictures and can show all of that. I assume that's what the building inspector is wanting.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be very difficult. So.
Ready for a motion?
I am.
Okay, I will. A motion on 24-011 variance based on the land use and zoning considerations, finding the facts, conclusion of law surrounding land uses, regulations established in the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations, material presented and testimony received. A motion to vote on case 24-011 VAR.
Second.
Excuse me, Commissioner Holman, Chair Aguilar. It's best to put it in the positive, and then commissioners, if they.
Motion to approve case 24-011 VAR.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hallman and a second from Commissioner Henderson to approve motion 24-011 variance. All those in favor, say aye.
No, let's have a.
Are we gonna do a roll call?
Roll call.
Meredith?
Commissioner Lassard.
I guess I need clarification. Are we approving the variance request?
The motion is to approve.
Approve
If-
as it's stated.
Yes.
If you vote yes, you are voting to approve. If you vote no, you're voting to not approve.
It is very confusing. I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
No.
Commissioner Aguilar.
No.
Commissioner Henderson.
No.
Commissioner Holman.
No.
Commissioner Gilmore.
No.
Motion has been denied. A 5-0 vote.
6.
Oh, we have 6 now.
There's 6 now.
6-0 vote. Sorry about that. Motion does not pass. Mr. Barrios, you have the right to, what's it called? Meredith? Appeal? You have the right to appeal. Could you tell them the process, Meredith?
Yes, Chair Aguilar, Commissioners, Mr. Barrios. The process to appeal is to appear before the the city clerk's office before noon on this Thursday. And the cost to appeal is $100, and you need to fill out an application in the clerk's office before this Thursday at noon, before noon on Thursday at the city clerk's office, if you wish to appeal the case. Then it goes to city council. But you can call our office tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. I'd like to introduce case 24-012, zone change, a request for zone change from R3 residential to C2, community commercial at 109 West Deming. Sierra Blanca Motor Summerly Plat, lot number 2. Meredith.
Thank you, Chair Aguilar, Commissioners. The applicant for zoning case 24-012 ZOC is requesting a change of zoning for the lot at 109 West Deming Street from R3 residential to C2 community commercial to match zoning of 710 South Main Street in order to expand the car dealership business. This slide shows an excerpt from the applicant's application stating the reason for the request. I will read it for you. I purchased 720 South Main and 109/111 West Deming in one transaction. I didn't realize West Deming was zoned R3. The intent is to use 109/111 West Deming as part of the commercial property 720 South Main Street. We would like to fence it in for future use and to stop the destruction trespassers are causing. There is a homeless problem in general public driving across the lot, tearing up the gravel. See included aerial view of vehicular damage to property. And the aerial there is an excerpt from the applicant's application, which is also in your packet. The Planning and Zoning Commission considerations from staff review are as follows. The property under consideration is an interior lot with an alley adjacent to the north property line and an alley adjacent to the east property line. On the 2016 functional street classification plan, West Deming Street is classified as a local street. The zoning map, which you see on the slide, shows the property under consideration is located adjacent to the Main Street corridor. The 2016 Comprehensive Master Plan Preferred Land Use Scenario Map shows the property under consideration is in a preferred residential area contiguous to the Main Street commercial corridor and with an infilled redevelopment opportunities area. And you can see that with the two maps from the preferred land use scenario on the screen. In your packet, you have a Google Map Street View photo from March 2013 showing the property looking north from Deming Street. And on the screen, you have staff photos of the property from looking west from Main Street toward West Deming Street, showing property under consideration for the zone change. So you see the owner's business, the building there that is the car lot, and then the property to the west. And then the second photo shows the actual property with the gravel. Five, a zone change to commercial is compatible with the C2 Community Commercial Zoning District on the north and east sides of the property under consideration. A commercial building with several businesses is located on the southwest corner of Deming Street and Main Street, retail, clothing store, photography and music studio, insurance agent, and salon. And that is that building right there on the screen. That's a building that has Hippie Chicks. So these slides here show single-family historic home contiguous to the property under considerations, west property line, and 3 homes located on the south side of Deming. For a number of years, Superior Ambulance Service utilized the house and property at 108 West Deming across the street from the property under consideration. Residential dwelling units on the western portion of the 100 block of West Deming Street provide a transition from the Main Street commercial corridor to the residential neighborhood west to Richardson Street. So the things to consider in this case are the nature of the street. You have 4 historic homes, 3 across the street and 1 adjacent to the property. As of today's date, the Planning and Zoning Office has received 0 written protests and 3 inquiries for the zoning case 24-012 ZOC. I want to go ahead and read the findings of fact, conclusions of law, which may give you some options as well. Okay. 1, a notice of the time and place of the public hearing for this case was published in the Roswell Daily Record at least 15 days prior to the date of this hearing. 2, notifications of the public hearing were mailed via certified mail with return receipt requested to property owners of record as shown by the Chavez County Assessor Map with lots or land within 100 feet of the area under consideration, excluding public rights-of-way. And A, under number 2A, the property owner located at 113 West Deming Street did not receive notification due to an error made by city staff in the mailing. The property owner came to the office to inquire about the case, and staff sat with her to explain the details of the case. Staff also offered all available notes of the case to make sure the property owner was informed in detail of the case being presented. Staff gave the public hearing notification letter to the property owner and invited the owner to the meeting. Staff mailed the property owner a certified return receipt letter on July 15th, 2024. Three, the agenda, which includes this case, has been posted at City Hall and on the City of Roswell's website for over 72 hours as required by State of New Mexico law for a public hearing. 4, at the time of this writing, the Planning and Zoning Office has received 0 written protests, 0 verbal protests, and 2 inquiries besides the one described in 1A above. 5, the property under consideration is currently within the jurisdiction of the city of Roswell, New Mexico. 6, City of Roswell zoning ordinance Article 3, procedures amendments and changes, Section 9, contains the provisions for zone changes. Section 9A states, the Planning and Zoning Commission may approve changes to zoning district classification on parcels of land within the city limits by way of a public hearing. A change in zoning districts shall be for the purpose of meeting the land use needs of the residents of the city in conformance with the city's land use plan. Section 9D, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall decide whether or not to approve a request for a zone change. In its deliberations, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall not approve a zone change unless it finds it conforms to the city's land use plan, is in the public interest, and is not solely in the interest of the applicant. Number 7, zoning ordinance Article 30, C2, community commercial district stipulates allowed uses and includes 9, commercial retail service stores, and 17, public parking lots, garages, decks as a use by right, as well as other commercial uses. Article 50, development standards, Section 3, commercial and industrial district specifies B, side yard setback. Number 2, where the interior lot line abuts a residential zoning district, the minimum side yard setback shall be 20% of the lot width or 35 feet, whichever is less. The lot shall be effectively screened by placing a solid fence or wall no less than 6 feet in height on the structure side of the lot line, made of brick, masonry, stone, wood, or an irrigated and maintained landscape area planted at a density equal to the opacity and height of a solid fence or wall or any combination thereof. Setbacks are measured from the property line to the facade of a structure. Number 8, zoning ordinance Article 28, C-1, neighborhood commercial district allows parking lots as a principal use with a special permit. The reason I added that in there was because anything is a use by right, and the C1 is allowed in the C2, but C1 requires a special use permit for a parking lot. The C2 does not. It's a use by right in the C2. And then I added number 9, zoning ordinance Article 3, zoning ordinance Article 16, R3, residential district, Section 2, use regulations B, special uses allows, number 2, parking lots as a principal use with a special use permit. Section 1 of Article 16 stipulates a 6-foot screen fence shall be required for any special use, Section 2B, along all property lines abutting single-family residential dwellings. So the reason I added that in there was this is an R3 lot already, and parking lots are used as a principal use with a special use permit. So as a request for rezoning, you can choose to downzone, okay? Or to put a special use permit on a property that's already zoned that allows that as an option. As you're deliberating and thinking about this property, the context of the neighborhood could be taken into consideration. There's commercial around, there's residential around. This makes for a very interesting case. I stand for questions, and I don't know if anyone else on staff has any thoughts.
Any other comments from staff? Anything y'all want to add? Commission, any questions of staff? Meredith?
It just seems like this section right here appears to be the only like 2-block area that hasn't already gone C2. The north and south of this area is C2 all the way up to what would that be, Richardson? Yeah. So I mean, the master plan doesn't show to envelop that, but is there a reasoning for that?
That's, Commissioner Holman, that's just how it developed over time.
You mentioned earlier about a special use permit. A reason why we didn't steer the applicant towards that? Or is it an applicant's choice to go C2?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, so when I first met with the applicant, we were exploring the options. A special use was overlooked when I was looking at this project. I made the recommendation that it could go for a zone change because what I was seeing based on around it was already commercial. It would be compatible as a zone change. It did not. I expressed that it was not the only option. That there may be other options that could be considered. So a special use came up later. When I was looking at the recommendation for a zone change, I was thinking along the lines of it being we could put a solid screening around the property because it abuts a residential, and it would also allow them to utilize that property better suited for their business.
Without having to come back again for something else down the road.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Can you clarify for us on the fencing? If this was a C1 zone, would the front fence regulation be similar to if it was the special use permit? Would it be a lower fence, or would the 6-foot high fence be allowable in a C1 along the front as well as the side abutting the residential?
The 6-foot fence in the front would be allowed as a use by right with commercial. I believe I'd have to verify with the special use. I believe they can also develop a 6-foot fence because of the intended use, it being an extension of the business and for storage purposes, I believe would be allowed.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions of staff, commission? Yes, ma'am.
Chair Aguilar, I do have just a couple of more sentences on this. When I was taking pictures this morning, I met the people who live next door in the house next door, and they expressed some concern about commercial. Another caller who is also present in the audience today expressed some concern about it being commercial. I spoke with the applicant and mentioned R3 with a special use permit, that they would still be able to do what they intend to do with the property. What the applicant told me they intend to do with the property is to, as cars come in to the business, they need a place to detail them, clean them, store them until they're processed onto the sales lot. They are not going to turn this into a sales lot. And in the future, they might build a garage or a garage carport combination to protect the vehicles and to utilize that space as they're cleaning the space. The applicant is here in the audience and can further tell you what they intend to do with that property. But remember, if you do zone it C2, if they should sell the property in the future, any C2 use can go on that lot.
Yep. Thank you, Meredith. Staff comments, all good? Nothing else there? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience or online wishing to speak in favor of case 24-012? Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Please state your name and address, please.
Name is Cesar Rodriguez. Address is 22 Waldy Drive. I'm actually, part owner of CR Motors. I'm running the place right now, and I mean, I've been open for like 5 weeks now. But like the only reason we want to do it is it actually is gonna make the area look a lot nicer with the big fence around it. You ain't gonna see no junk, no stuff, because we keep the area pretty well maintained. But right now we have people that go do donuts, go do, and then I have to go and make it look back nice, clean the yard, keep everything maintained, and we'll still be keeping it that way. And even if it's commercial, eventually, we want to, expand the business, but that'll take some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Rodriguez?
At this point, as the special use permit, the R3 special use permit was described to you, would that be a hindrance in what you're trying to do as opposed to changing this to the commercial use?
I probably wouldn't. I just gotta get more detail on it. Like, see, as long as we can do a big fence, all the way around the property, it probably would work with us too.
I have a question. This might be for staff also, but I'm sure at some point you buy cars wholesale, clean them up. Is there at any point going to be a mechanic shop to where you're going to be working on them? And
No, that's another business.
You don't want to get into that?
It. No way.
You sure?
No.
Now, as far as structures goes, Miguel or Meredith, what does this variance allow for them to do? If they go through, I'm sorry, the special use permit. I'm sure they'll probably need a carport or something to.
The special use permit, Chair Aguilar, in the R3 zoning district allows for parking lots as a principal use with a special use permit.
But not a structure.
Oh, but not for storage. But
Storage of cars is a parking lot, so.
Yeah. I just think at some
and
point he's
parking
gonna
can
need-
be inside or outside with a special use permit. So you could allow with a special use permit a garage or a carport as part of the parking lot.
At some point he'll need some kind of structure.
Conceivably, as the special use permit, he could still erect a carport or a garage at some point under that same special use.
That's how we interpret the ordinance.
Would that help you, Mr. Rodriguez?
That should help. Yeah, as long as I can, build something without having to come back and
Yeah,
try to rezone it.
that's kind of what I'm thinking, So if he's gonna work something, he's not gonna have to come back, go to C2 again, and then do the whole process all over again.
Yeah, I agree. And it might not be important if no one is going to speak against it. So.
Yeah.
How long is a special use permit in place? Is there a limit time-wise? My concern, if I were the owner, would be that I do the improvements, I put up the fence, all of that, and then there is a date where I have to take that all down because my special use permit, when I come before planning and zoning again, it gets denied.
Or if you sell the property.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Does that transfer? Those are things that I would be concerned with as a, as the property owner, but also I do believe that the commercial falls in line with where this is going. I mean, this is already mostly commercial. So, but I'm just wondering about that special use permit. Is that a 20-year? Is it, I know there must be a limit on that.
Commissioner Lassard and Chair Aguilar, whenever a property owner wants to do something different with the property, let's say you have a doctor's office in a property and that property owner sells the property to a daycare, the daycare would have to come and get their own special use permit. So it's when the property use of the property changes.
Okay.
And we can look up special use permit here as well in the zoning ordinance, and we'll get back to you in a second.
But for clarity, if it did go to C2, then it's C2. And if you sell to another person and they want a business, they don't have to come back and rezone.
Yeah.
Or get a special use. It's already zoned for C2 and all activities are approved under C2. And of course, C1.
Yeah, and we weren't aware of that when we bought the property. Like we thought everything was some commercial because it was part of our licensing too, and we weren't informed of that until afterwards to start inquiring about the fence and everything. When we learned it was zoned different.
Any other questions, Mr. Rodriguez, commissioners? Oh, sorry, Meredith.
In the zoning ordinance, section 8, special uses, number G, section BG, granting of a special use permit on a tract of land may supersede and terminate all permitted uses for that zoning district for that tract of land.
Thank you. Anything else for Mr. Rodriguez? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience or online wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-012? Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Delma Fuentes, and I live
Go ahead and
at
pull that down if you don't mind. Thank
My
you.
name's Delma Fuentes, and I live at 113 West Demi. And it seems like they already have decided to make it what they want. But I'm here to talk about my little neighborhood and to let you know the business that they're talking about. There's an alley right there in the business on that side. This side is our side. And I didn't know that the area where they're talking about, where the rocks are at, I was never informed that that was a commercial, a C2 or whatever. Nobody notified me or our neighbors to let us know that they were changing. There was a house there and it just got knocked down about 2 or 3 years ago. The ambulance place was only there for 2 years. And we didn't know about that either. They just popped up and there they were. And we would hear the ambulance going down our street. So a lot of stuff's going on over there that we don't get to know. If it wasn't for my neighbors, I wouldn't have been here today. My neighbors are the one that came, knocked at my door. They gave me a copy of what my house wasn't included in there. I had to come over here and ask, why was my house not included? I was just told it was a mistake that they didn't see my house right next to the rocks, that empty area. How can you not see my house right there? Everybody, if it wasn't for my neighbors, I wouldn't be here. In our neighborhood, we have a little elderly couple that my neighbors across the street, my neighbors on that corner, and then the neighbors on the other corner, we keep an eye on them. We stopped a robbery that some guy went in there and stole her purse. My neighbor across the street was looking, I was looking, and we looked at each other and we said, yeah. So he took off running after her. I got the purse, took it back in, called the daughter. That's the kind of neighborhood. It's not a fancy neighborhood, but it's our neighborhood. And like I said, we didn't know that house was barely knocked down 2 or 3 years ago. So to us, it was still resident. Somebody could build a home there. The neighbor across the street couldn't make it here because they had their daughter. They didn't want it there. We were glad when the ambulance left because all we could hear was the noise. And that's all we're going to hear next door is the noise, the cars, the cleaning, the noise. I could hear my neighbor when they get home. They could hear me when I get home. So it's not fair to us that we always have all these things going up and we never know. And I thank my neighbors because if it wasn't for my neighbors, I wouldn't be here. And we don't want it.
Anything else, ma'am?
That's it.
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Fuentes? Thank you.
I would just say that, we apologize for the oversight. I know that it was an oversight on staff, and they did make efforts to reach out to you personally and speak with you about that, but I do apologize that you weren't notified by mail.
No, the only thing I got was a letter.
That's
And that
standard.
was like 3 or 4 days later after I came over here.
Yeah, and we do apologize for that oversight.
Thank you, Ms. Fuentes. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of case 24-012? Anybody else in opposition of case 24-012? There are none. Any other comments from staff or commission?
No.
Commissioners? I'd entertain a motion.
Based on the land use and zoning considerations, finding of the facts, conclusion of law surrounding land uses, regulations established in the zoning ordinance, materials presented, and testimony received, I make a motion to approve case 24-012 ZOC.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a from Commissioner Lassard and a second from Commissioner Gilmore. Would you like a roll call or a voice?
We'll conduct a roll call vote.
Okay.
Commissioner Gilmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilar,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Holman,
Yes.
Commissioner Lassard,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yes.
We have a unanimous approval of case 24-012. Motion carries. Oh yeah, do we need a reason? We forgot the last one too. My opinion, I think it's cohesive to what's happening in the neighborhood, and I think something like that would be a nice asset to what's happening and help the new applicants continue doing their business. Anybody would like anything to add? Okay.
No, I agree.
Okay. Thank you. Same process, folks. If you do want to appeal, same process is Thursday by 12 o'clock at City Clerk's office. Okay. Moving on. I'd like to introduce case 24-013, zone change from C2 Community Commercial to R1 Residential. Okay. Now this looks a little bit different. Okay. Okay. Case 24-013, zone change, and 24-014, final plat. Okay. Meredith?
Chair Aguilar, commissioners. We're getting there.
Almost there. Can we get another break? Or dinner, whichever one.
I know one person here with the restaurant.
I will present both cases together, although they are separate cases in your packet.
That's what threw me off. Yeah. Okay, let's get her done, Meredith.
Case number 24-013. The applicant is requesting a zone change from C2 Community Commercial District and R1 Residential District to the R3 Residential Zoning District for 1.61 acres at 601 East Marker Road for the development of residential dwelling units in the R3 zoning district. The property under consideration is a corner lot on the 2016 functional street classification plan. Garden Avenue is classified as a collector street and Marker Road is classified as a local street. The zoning map shows the property under consideration is zoned both commercial and residential and is the adjacent property to the north, as is the adjacent property to the north, as well as the property across the street on the south side of Marker Road. This afternoon, I spoke to that property owner on the south side of of Marker Road. And that property owner told me that 1901 Southeast Main Street had always been zone C2, and so staff is going to investigate that to see if it's still C2 and if there was a mistake on one of the translations of the zoning map. So we're going to go back in time and look at other maps and see if there was a case or what happened there. The owner currently lives in the single-family house on the property and intends to sell the home once the plat is finalized and build a new house as a personal dwelling on one of the 7 lots. And you can see zoning case 24-014, F plat for the final plat, case to be heard by the Planning Zoning Commission tonight. Oops. Yep. Here's some photos on the slide of the property. The middle slide, you can see, you can look across Garden Street looking east, and you can see the house there. The first slide is looking from the house toward the west, and you can see the gas station right there. And then on the last slide, the last photo there is looking toward the house and the remainder of the property to the east. Rezoning to R3 will provide a transitional zone from the commercial corridor on South Garden and Southeast Main Street to residential and allow for increased residential density such as duplexes or attached or detached multifamily units. Smith Engineering has produced civil engineering plans showing existing site conditions, drainage improvements, utility layout for each of the 7 lots in the subdivision, grade for the subdivision sewer line service to tie into existing sewer line on the west side of Garden Avenue. And this may be why this property's never developed in the past, because there is a slope that goes toward Garden Street, but the study had to be done to make sure that the sewer line would work and be able to tie into existing sewer. A municipal water line is located on the south side of Marker Road that can be tapped to serve the lots, and a fire hydrant is located on the southeast corner of Garden Avenue and Marker Road. The 2016 Comprehensive Master Plan Preferred Land Use Scenario shows the property is located in a commercial and residential area and in an area designated for infill redevelopment opportunities. A regional economic development and housing summit held by the Southeast New Mexico Economic Development District on May 22nd, 23rd, 2024 highlighted the housing crisis in southeastern New Mexico and the need for all types of housing, including owner-occupied and rental units. Number 8, in the package shows a Google Earth Street View photo from December 2018 showing the property looking east from Garden Avenue. And then you saw the photos from staff as well. And I just want to make sure, I want to see if 2013 and 2014, or 013 and 014 have the same findings of fact, conclusions of law. Can you help me with that, please?
It's on page 66.
So as I read 24013, can you look at 24014, please? Findings of fact, conclusions of law. Number 1, a notice of the time and place of the public hearing for both cases was published in the Roswell Daily Record at least 15 days prior to the date of this hearing. Notifications of the public hearing were mailed via certified mail with return receipt requested to property owners of record as shown by the Chavez County Assessor map with lots or land within 100 feet of the area under consideration, excluding public rights-of-way. This agenda, which includes these cases, has been posted at City Hall and on the City of Roswell's website for over 72 hours as required by State of New Mexico law for public hearing. As of the time of this writing, the Planning and Zoning Office has received 0 written protests, 0 verbal protests, and 0 inquiries. We actually did receive a letter yesterday. I received a letter, and it's not a protest letter, but it should have been on your desk, right? So that letter is from Michael Shine for West Source Corp. LLC. It was dated July 16th, 2024, and I just received it. It states, Dear Community Development Department, as one of the owners of the 19-acre tract of land located at 1901 Southeast Main, I received your certified letter giving notice of the application to change the zoning and to subdivide a 1.61 acre lot located at 601 East Marker Street. That property is being considered for rezoning from C2 community commercial zoning and R1 residential zoning to R3 residential zoning, and subsequently being subdivided into 7 residential lots. The 19-acre property I own across Marker Street will ultimately be used for commercial purposes. As long as the zoning change and the subdivision into 7 residential lots does not create a situation where the subsequent owners of any of those 7 residential lots will object to the use of my property for commercial purposes, I do not object to such rezoning and subdivision. However, this letter serves as a notice to the City of Roswell Planning and Zoning Commission that such changes have the potential impact of creating objection to the future use of my property. Such objection would inhibit the development of the 19 acres located at 1901 Southeast Main when the need for such development matures. Therefore, I request that the zoning and subdivision be approved with the condition that the future owners of these 7 lots cannot object to any commercial use of my property that would be in compliance with city regulations for commercial property. Thank you for providing notice of this potential rezoning and subdivision. Respectfully, Michael Shine. And I did speak to Mr. Shine and just reiterated to him based on the zoning map that we have now, if he were to develop the whole property for commercial, it would have to come before this body for a rezone change, for a zone change. And that's when he told me he thought that commercial had always been zoned for a commercial, that we need to look at the zoning map and see what happened there. He said that that property had been previously used as a outdoor movie theater, like a drive-in movie theater.
See it in the.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something definitely going on there, right? So. Five, the property under consideration is currently within the jurisdiction of the city of Roswell, New Mexico. 6, City of Roswell zoning ordinance Article 3, procedures, amendments, and changes. Section 9 contains the provisions for zone changes. Section 9A states, the Planning and Zoning Commission may approve changes to zoning district classification on parcels of land within the city limits by way of a public hearing. A change in zoning district shall be for the purpose of meeting the land use needs of the residents of the city and in conformance with the city's land use plan. Section 9D states, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall decide whether or not to approve a request for a zone change. In its deliberations, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall not approve a zone change unless it finds it conforms to the city's land use plan, is in the public interest, and is not solely in the interest of the applicant. 7, City of Roswell zoning ordinance Article 16 R3 residential district specifies uses allowed in the R3 zoning residential zoning district. And those uses include single family, duplexes, multifamily if there's enough land. These lots will be around a little over 8,000 square feet. Multifamily requires 9. If you have 3, each unit requires 3,000 square feet of lot. So a couple of the lots, the first lot and the last lot might fit that. We'll look at the next case. It does specify the size of lots. Okay, that's the first case there. So I'm going to look at the land use and zoning considerations and findings of fact for zoning case 24-014F plat now. I don't seem to have all the pages of my packet. So the only difference between 24-013 ZOC and 24-014F plat and the findings of fact, conclusions of law is number 6 under 24-014F plat. City of Roswell Subdivision Code Article 14, Subdivision Application Procedures and Approval Process, Section 2, Application and Review Procedures regulates final plats. So on the screen, you'll see the proposed subdivision of lots from the 1.61 acre lot into 7 smaller lots for this development. This is an excerpt from Rain Surveying. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Meredith. Any questions of staff, Meredith?
I do have a question, Meredith. I notice in Mr. Shine's letter, he states that in that last paragraph, that the future owners of these 7 lots cannot object to commercial use of my property. Did you explain to him, that I don't see how that can be enforced? Does anybody else,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's no legal standing. with it at
right,
all.
so I don't see how, does he understand that? I mean, whether he understands, it doesn't really matter because we can't stipulate that, so.
If Commissioner Lassard, Chair Aguilar, if indeed the zoning map was, something happened there and his property is all C2 community commercial, I'd have to talk with Jessica Vickers, our community development director, to see what the procedure would be for that, to correct the map. But if it's indeed C2, then most commercial stuff would be used by right. So there would be no notification, and I think it's probably given the nature of this letter and that we was received for this hearing, that it would be incumbent upon the property owner to share that letter with anyone who purchases the property.
I think the letter's a nice sentiment, but I would agree. We're not going to stipulate, make any conditions. It's fine that it's of record and he can pull that back up if he'd like to. If his property is in fact C2, then there is no issue. It would be a use by right. He wouldn't be going through planning and zoning to get approval anyway. So it's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
And I believe Mr. Morales is here.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff before? Nope. All right, moving on. Is there anyone in the audience or online wishing to speak in favor of case 24-013? Mr. Morales, come on up. Your name and address, please.
My name is Jesus R. Rudy Morales. My address is 601 East Market Road, which is on the map up there. So I currently live at that address. My intentions are I purchased a property with 1 lot and I knew I wanted to do something with it, but wasn't sure. And this is what I came up with. So I want to build my new construction on lot 7. And I think I would give others opportunities to build if they wanted to build on that side of town. And I think it would look a lot nicer for the city of Roswell. And this is something I would like to do. There's not a lot of new construction on east side of Main Street on the south side. So I think it would be something nice for others to build on.
I agree. Any questions of Ms. Morales? Commission, staff?
I would just say that I really appreciate this is a very, very well presented request, and you've gone to some expense with Smith Engineering and your surveying, and we appreciate all that information and what you've undertaken there.
You're welcome, sir.
That's agreed. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from you, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of case 24013 and 24014? That's everybody? Good. Okay. Thank you, sir. Anybody in the audience wishing or online wishing to speak in opposition of case 24013 and 24014? We're the last ones here. Seriously. Meredith?
Commissioner Aguilar, may I remind the commission that there are two
separate
motions, one for the zone change, which ends with you, and then a recommendation to city council for the final plat.
All right. I will entertain a motion. Two separate motions.
Based on the land use and zoning considerations, finding of facts, conclusions of the law surrounding land uses, regulations established in the zoning ordinance, materials presented, and testimony received, a motion to approve case 24-013 Zoc.
Second.
They beat you. I have a motion from Secretary Holman and a second from Commissioner Gutierrez to approve case 24013 Zoc. You want a roll call again or no? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion on case 24014 F plat.
Based on the land use and zoning considerations, finding of facts, conclusion of law surrounding land uses, regulations established in zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations, materials presented, and testimony received, I make a motion to recommend case 24-014 F plat to City Council. Approval. Yes, sorry.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Lassard and a second from Commissioner Gilmore to approve case 24-014 F plat. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Morales.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for sticking it out this long. Thank you. Good luck with everything. You got it. Thank you.
Can you reach a Kleenex for me?
Can we go home? Can we table the rest of the meeting for next month?
I'm going the wrong way.
Almost there. We're almost there.
All right, we're moving on to other business. Anita, let's see, we just tabled earlier. Or where are we? Hold on.
At
Okay.
ordinance.
Oh, hang on, we're not done yet. One more.
Yeah.
Never mind. Ms. Vickers, what you got for us?
Okay, the action requested is for review of ordinance 24-XX, which is an ordinance repealing ordinance 21-09, chapter 27 of the Roswell Code and amending Roswell zoning code related to cannabis. Some background is this was prepared by the city attorney and myself. There's no additional costs associated with this request. The ordinance starts here with you all because it's amending the zoning code, so it would just be a recommendation. It would move to legal committee from this point and then on to city council after that. So today would just be requesting that you review and introduce a motion and vote on a recommendation to legal committee. You have, I think, the ordinance in front of you, just sort of touching on some of the key points. This is changing the cannabis code to simplify everything. So instead of things going through P&Z, it basically adds definitions, things like that, things that conform to state law, as well as making it a use by right in a C2. So that's kind of the gist of it. It would be a use by right in C2 to open a cannabis establishment. Industrial cannabis establishments would be a use by right in the I1 district. So it would simplify everything. You would not need to come through and get a special use permit, do any of the steps that we've been doing previously. I stand for questions if you guys have anything specific you'd like me to address.
I like the ordinance. I think it is very clean, very, very concise. I was wondering why we've omitted any distance requirement from an R1 zone. All we have is a 300 feet from the nearest school or daycare. There's nothing for residential. There's nothing for places of worship. those type of things.
Correct. I will address that in the sense that the only thing that the state requires are the school and daycare. So we have kept it clean in line with state regulations. What we found is that we were every time violating that 300-foot distance requirement with residential. We weren't complying with our own code. We were finding it to be a, what's the word? Like a hardship when it wasn't. We were kind of just passing those regulations on without having any real basis to do so. And that was one of the complaints that was brought to me, is that we were doing that without any real basis. So we thought getting rid of that requirement made it a lot cleaner. Additionally, the way our city is laid out, C2 pretty much backs up to residential all along our city. So that's why we did away with that.
This is closer in line or to what state's already doing?
Correct. It conforms with state law, and it's just our old ordinance had a lot of extra things that we were trying to regulate, so we'd be doing away with the extra regulation.
Surprised it's only 4 pages.
Which we do have the right as a municipality
correct.
to enact our own ordinance in addition to the state law. I would ask that you would at least consider a statement in there for some distance away from places of worship, not just schools and daycare, as we would see with a nightclub establishment or liquor sales. You think it would need to be consistent with that. I do like that we have limited the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think that's very reasonable.
No, there's no on-site consumption.
Those hours were already established.
I was going to ask about on-site consumption. Is that different?
There's no on-site consumption, with the exception that we cannot prohibit things under the act. Sorry.
Yeah. Compassion Act.
Yes, the Compassionate Use Act. So that's the only thing we're allowing, because we can't obviously stop that. And if you, we could certainly make a note of that and pass that along when it goes to legal to address the adding in churches or places of worship, and bring that to their attention.
If that were the case, would you need to rewrite this and bring it back, or just make a recommendation with changes?
We can try making a recommendation with changes.
Any other comments, commissioners?
I would agree with that.
I also know that we did approve a special use permit for an establishment on 2nd Street that is right next door to Mecca Services, where they do early childhood and young child therapies. Doesn't necessarily fall under the daycare category, but we've got children coming and going in that establishment during these hours that are there for early childhood intervention and other therapies. I don't know if that needs to be like designated a little broader than the daycare designation here. It just seems like that type of service doesn't fall under a school or a daycare, but you have the same activities happening, the same group of citizens that are coming and going there.
I disagree. I mean, I think it's a retail store. There's no consumption on site. So I think it's safe.
Any other comments from the commission?
I think also in relation to that, there is medical. They're also considered medical, isn't that right? So I think that's another way to look at that. So
For Mecca?
For Mecca, isn't it? I mean, cannabis facilities provide, I guess, for medical purposes, even for children, don't they? I don't know that.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know that.
What that would be like.
Yeah.
If that is.
I just wondered if that was
medically.
Yeah.
But I just know that they perform
Mhm.
services to children.
Services, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit different than liquor, huh? They don't do,
Yeah.
what's it called? Like Commissioner Hallman mentioned. I don't think they even have us do military bases.
Mhm.
Got to measure how far we are from military bases, schools, and churches.
Right. And kind of to touch on that, the way we have it designed now, being a use by right in C2, it would stay away from our air base because we don't have C2 there.
But we do have industrial.
Industrial.
Do, yeah.
So,
Yep.
so the larger
Which could
industrial
be
uses
it, they would have to probably get FAA approval. So I don't know what that process would be like, but there would not be a restriction, I guess, on our end specifically.
Okay. So you need.
So I just want to clarify if it is close to residential, like for example, we approve some places on Second Street, for example, and then the residential backs right up to a cannabis facility. By right, they can just open a cannabis without notification at all to the residential behind it, correct?
Correct.
By the way this is written.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Just right of use.
Yeah.
Correct.
Under the C2.
Yes.
Not
But-
C1? Sorry.
No.
Okay.
All right, so question to staff on the C2 requirement, separating residential and C2, the fencing requirements on that would hold. That's a solid fence of 6 feet.
That is correct. It would be treated as any other commercial property abutting residential is required a solid 6-foot screening.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments, staff, commission?
No, I think it looks good.
To be clear, do we
Much
want to
cleaner.
add in the places of worship? Did you all
That
want
would
to
be
add in that information?
I would like to see it.
Whoever makes this
Yeah.
motion would have to be that way, I would imagine. If that's going to be the
Yep.
case. And this is going to be a recommendation to legal, correct?
Correct.
I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, based on the land use and zoning considerations, findings of fact, conclusions of law surrounding land uses, regulations established in the zoning ordinance and chapter 27 of the municipal code, materials presented and testimony received, I motion to approve with amendments adding places of worship in consideration of distance from establishment for ordinance 24-XX.
Second.
I have a motion from Secretary Hallman and a second from Vice Chair Lassard. Would you like a roll call? Voice vote? Okay. To recommend to legal, including the stated changes from Secretary Hallman to, that's it, we're just recommending. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
I assume you're done with
Do you need a written statement, Meredith? I write pretty sloppy.
Anytime there's a recommendation to city council, please provide reasons.
But not written? It says written on my paper.
I was hoping you would write it.
Right.
Legal first.
It would be helpful.
You got a blank piece of paper?
Just state it, that's fine.
From what I understand from the commission is it's conducive and it makes it much simpler for applicants to submit applications and save staff's time and energy on more productive projects. And with Secretary Holloman's recommendation, I think it puts it in line with some of the other activities that we already do with liquor and stuff like that. Does that work for you? Awesome. Other business.
Can you do the same thing for the F plat 2014?
Oh, yes. Yes. F plat 2014. That was.
We like it, we approve it.
Yeah. Does that work? Can we do that? We like it and we approve it, and it's perfect for redevelopment of land that hasn't been used in a long time. I used to live in that house.
I will just add, the reason we're doing this is so that city council knows your reasoning. So whenever you're making a decision, it really needs to be based on the facts, so that if there is an appeal, that's what they're going back to look for.
Understood. And I think, it makes more sense. And, and I think they have a clear picture of what they're looking at whenever they do get a recommendation or an appeal or something of the sort. I'll try to remember to do it every time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Other business. So earlier we had tabled the approval of the May 28, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. We did not have a quorum to approve that. I'd like to take a motion. Anybody?
So moved.
Sorry. I have a motion from Secretary Holloman and a second from Commissioner Gutierrez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries. Any public comments? Nobody. Let's go home. Announcements. Night, night. That's a good announcement. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Oh my God. That was a good one. Haven't done one of those in a while.
We earned our high salary.
Wow.
Sorry, I had to miss that.